All right. Would you like to do that now, or would you like to talk about making money now?
Making money.
Okay.
I better, actually, I need both, but yeah, I'd like to cover that next if we can.
Yes, sir. I'm ready to go. What I'm doing is I'm looking at your Jupiter-Pluto Magi quads. If you've read our Magi Society Ephemeris book, you'll know that that's the way we can really tell where people can make money.
I didn't know that, and I haven't read that yet. I should, and I'm working on all that now for certification.
Excellent.
So.
Read all those books upside down, backwards, crossways.
Yeah, so I'm putting them into audio file into MP3 so I can review them again and again.
Excellent, because there is so much information. Okay, so looking at your Jupiter-Pluto Magi quads, and they're listed in Magi order, meaning the most important ones first. But for each dimension, they're listed in most important order. Actually, I want to take one thing out and put a couple things in, so bear with me. This program, the asteroids are not automatic. All right, here we go. Number one is Jupiter-Pluto to Sun Chiron. So this would mean doing something that's a Chiron-based occupation. You know, Chiron relates to marriage and family. It also relates to the public trust and charisma, so something that draws on those things or utilizes those themes. We also have Jupiter-Pluto to Mercury, Ceres, and Jupiter-Pluto to Venus, Ceres. So Ceres, of course, is the little godfather of business and relates to any business. It doesn't really relate to so much being an employee as it does, but you're not really that anyway. Right. And Mercury relates to communication, so a lot of money in a communications business. You know, you can look up all the different symbols, you know, in order to maximize our time together. I'm not going to give you every possible idea. I'm wanting to just give you the general and let you look it up from there because you're the type of man that does that sort of thing and can. Also, Venus-ruled businesses. So, you know, anything, Mercury, of course, is acting, it's speaking, it's writing, it's communicating, it's being an author. You know, anything, and Mercury is a co-ruler with Uranus of computers. And then Venus-related businesses you can also look up. We all, because the keyword business comes from Ceres being part of the Magi quad. Okay. Now we also have Jupiter-Pluto to Saturn, Juno. So, you know, Saturn and Juno is a little bit of a not so happy combination of planets, and everybody has them, or, you know, some way, but when they come together, it can be, you know, manipulation, for example, or not telling the truth to people. So actually an element of those things, I'm not saying that I would advise it, because karmically I think the penalties are fairly great. When we have more awareness, we are held to a higher standard of behavior. But you could certainly make money doing that. You know, or I mean, I'm not advising it. I'm just pointing it out.
Maybe I should have been a lawyer.
I don't think, you know what, lawyers have 4 elements in their charts that are very specific. And I did a big study on that. I actually had to, for a client, I had to find a lawyer for a very, very important case, big money case. And I found in my client got me the birth data for all the top guns in a particular city. And in looking at them, I found striking similarities between all the charts.
Amazing.
Yeah. And if you ever need to find a lawyer, I'll be happy to tutor you and how to pick one.
Oh, great. Okay.
Because there's a lot of things to consider if you have an important thing and you need a lawyer. In any case, to move on back to you, we also have Jupiter-Pluto to Moon Chiron. So we have Jupiter-Pluto to Sun Chiron and to Moon Chiron. So something to do with families or children or marriages in some way. I mean, you'll have to look up all the symbolisms of Chiron and all the planets that we're talking about. We have Jupiter-Pluto to Uranus-Chiron. Now, of course, Uranus rules fame, it rules the internet, it also rules astrology. Co-ruler with Mercury of computers. So some way internet dealing with families. Have you ever considered, now this is popping into my head, my dear, I know that you've had relationships with women in Eastern Europe.
Yes,
have you ever considered a Eastern European woman online dating service? introductions between Western men and Eastern European women?
I was invited into one while I was in Kiev living there 1 year. I was actually invited to do that. And I do have a lot of experience with that sort of thing because I've been in 3 different parts of that part of the world.
Well, I'm not talking about working for somebody else here. I'm talking about starting your own business.
I don't know. I mean, I have, but I haven't really given it a lot of. I didn't know that would be in the realm of my.
Well, let's think about it. Let's think about all these symbolisms we've looked at here. Okay, we've looked at Sun Chiron and Moon Chiron, and Uranus Chiron. Now, Chiron is marriage. Chiron is finding soulmates. Okay. And here we're having Sun Chiron, Moon Chiron, and Uranus Chiron, which brings in the internet. Then we have Venus Ceres. Venus rules love, certainly, you know, not soulmate, but love. You know, Cupid, love at first sight, that sort of thing. Venus Ceres. So a business about love, an internet-based business about families, marriages. I mean, this is pointing to this. You also have Jupiter, Pluto to Sun, Uranus. Now, that could be astrology. Maybe your twist would be it's a dating service that helps hook people up using astrology. Now, Juno happens to rule dating and dating services. Saturn, Juno here could be in control of dating. We also have Jupiter, Pluto to Neptune, Vesta, longtime friendships. We have Jupiter, Pluto to Saturn, Ceres. Again, we have so essentially we have a bi-level Jupiter, Pluto to Venus, Ceres to be in the love business. Now you can take this in other directions too, Michael, but I'm not going to spell them out.
Okay.
But I mean, there's a lot. I mean, and you have unique experience for an American guy in terms of this.
Yes, that's true.
I mean, let's face it. You know, a lot of these businesses, I don't know much about them, but are probably based in Eastern Europe and run by Eastern Europeans. To have an American guy running a business like this might be more acceptable to some Americans who are you know, considering which service to join. And if you could use astrology, that gives you, you know, a value-added thing that other people can't do. I'm not saying you could or whatever. I'm just throwing out thoughts here, just what's coming to mind. Because I'm seeing the symbolisms again and again. Here we have Jupiter, Pluto to Pallas, Juno. Again, Pallas relates to planning, and Juno relates to dating. Then we have Jupiter, Pluto to Moon, Ceres, and you know, again, Moon relates to the home and you know, feeling nurtured. We have Jupiter, Pluto to Uranus, Pallas, you know, planning internet stuff. Jupiter, Pluto to Sun, Juno. Again, the Juno's dating, among other things. And then Jupiter, Pluto to Venus, to Mercury, Ceres. Those are all in Geo, and you actually have quite a few. I'm going to look at Helio now, and look at your Magi quads for Helio. Some people only have a few. You have a lot. We have Jupiter, Pluto to Earth, Uranus too. So being on the internet is big for you, or being an astrologer. But I mean, you know, getting into something that's a bigger business than just a service business is certainly, you know, you can make more money. And also, you know, you like to go over there, you like to travel, and that turns all this stuff into write-offs. And you have the personal experience too. We have Jupiter, Pluto to Mars, Pallas, which doesn't relate too much except, you know, planning people's sexual experiences could be part of that. You know, I would encourage you, for each one of these Jupiter, Pluto, Magi quads that I've read off to you, I would encourage you to look up the symbolisms. And in that second book, in the Ephemeris, it talks about, you know, brief meanings of planetary pairs, as well as the business symbolisms for the different planets. I encourage you to look up all of that and draw your own conclusions. But considering that I know a little bit about your history and your own experiences, and considering how this really points in that direction, I'd say, consider it. I mean, you could certainly go into a partnership with somebody else, but you would just want to be very, very careful and choose the right date to sign a partnership agreement and hopefully have some kind of an agreement that you could uphold, that you wouldn't be taken advantage of. And that, might not be so easy in Russia.
Yeah, it would be very difficult, I think.
Yeah, I do too. That's why I'm sort of inclining or pulling you more toward doing it yourself and being based in the U.S. That doesn't mean you can't have a partner over there or have employees over there, but an American in another country doesn't necessarily, or any person in another country, not just an American, doesn't necessarily have the legal system on their side.
Right, that's right.
So you would want to be in a position. Plus, I think a U.S.-based business would probably, run by an American, would for guys that were maybe a little dubious of the whole thing, might be a little more reassuring.
Yes.
And then you could travel over there and interview all the beautiful women you wanted.
That's interesting. I didn't see that in there, and that's interesting. Of course, I'm still got a lot to learn about Magi astrology. So.
Right. Well, that's why we're working together, so you can learn that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But you could use astrology to help put people together.
Yeah, and to eliminate a lot of bad mismatches.
And you could also advise them on the days to have their first meetings, because that has a lot to do with it too. You don't want people to meet on a heartbreak day or meet when one of them is having a heartbreak clash, because that's not going to work out.
Mm-hmm.
So just thoughts for you. What should we look at next? Your progressions?